All right, here we go, y'all. Peace and blessings to you. This is Rev Bruce doing something a little different today, a little something special. Really looking at the journey to get to one of the places that I've been working on with my, you know, with my writing, with my artistry, with everything that I've been trying to put out there. I have really just set my soul on doing some things and straighten them out in 2021. COVID had really put a damper on some things, but to put it in perspective, I still felt the need to push on, and so I really want to talk about just the journey to get to releasing this double book of poetry called the Relaunch. The Relaunch actually contains two previously published pieces of work that I'll go into about how that previous publishing got construed. But I really want to talk about it, and if anybody got any questions, comments they want to throw at me, hit me up in the comments on either Facebook or here on Google, YouTube, and I'll try to cover it as much as I can. But the reality is, this has been a long-term journey. I've been self-publishing poetry since about 2008. This would technically be about my writing the wrongs was technically my fifth book published for poetry, and so this will be another combination, I guess. So we'd say this will be my sixth book coming together. The Rebirth will be coming out pretty soon, which will actually contain the seventh book, along with the Rama Project, which is about the utterance, what comes out, what is spoken, the spoken word. And so basically, man, this is real. As a writer, as a poet, as an author, I've always felt one way about expressing myself through writing. I felt comfortable about that, but then I also felt not always socially comfortable about, well, I'm a poet, I'm all this and that, and like many other folks, from my era, a lot of my stuff has rap influence, hip hop influence, and nothing wrong with that. That's part of the artistry of rap and poetry, but it also has the influence of things that we take for granted, nursery rhymes, historical anthems, things of that nature. And so I can honestly say this has been a journey not only as an artist, but also as a businessman. And so let me start out with this. Roll back a few years, 2013. Into 2013, I was compiling Writing the Wrongs. And Writing the Wrongs was a total poetic social commentary, taking shots at a lot of things that we look at and see, observe, and sometimes we're quote unquote forced to swallow as citizens, even in the United States. And so I just took it to, it was time to say something different. And so I said a lot of things in 2013 and earlier that probably would not have gone down as, that's not acceptable. That's not something, we talk about. And now, since everybody is so woke, everybody's talking about it. And it's like, okay. So I guess this made it an appropriate time to relaunch what I was talking about. And what I was talking about was here are these social ills, these things that people have come to accept, but when are we going to make them right? How are we going to make them right? What's so wrong about it? And I'll recite a few pieces from each collection that you can get an idea about what I'm talking about. But if we don't express that it's wrong, I don't think we'll ever address and try to fix what's wrong with it. And so part of why I wrote this and I'm saying this is it's about, I think you have to express it to address it. You know what I mean? And that's just that's just a simple that's a simple position of a artist. I think you have to literally express it to address it. If not, then you have left a void without a voice in the conversation, in the argument, in the whole realm of it. And so you have the responsibility to express it so that it can be put in the midst of the for what most of us used to call the cipher to be addressed. When somebody would hit you with a low blow, in a rap battle, it used to be would be like, "Ooh, you went there," and it was on the floor. And so, all right, either you're gonna take it and go after it and keep going and throw a blow back, or you just gonna swallow that and you get taken out because it's so untouchable, it's so risque that you're not gonna do it. And we have to express it so that we can all address it. And so I think that was part of the banner that I was trying to wave with righting the wrongs. Free at last is literally wordplay. I am personally, I'll say it this way. I'm personally sickened by the way much of the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King gets watered down and played out and misconstrued. It's like we narrow the funnel of who Dr. King was to simply saying Dr. King was, I have a dream, and leave it at that. And we even break him down to just being MLK. We don't even acknowledge that he was a man who was torn between pastoring his congregation and leading people in, boycotts and the SCLC and all these other things, and young and faced with these crazy decisions and leadership issues. But what's wrong with the imagery of Martin Luther King is what we've done with it. And we've allowed, or we've watched happen and observe. And so one of the things when I did Free at Last, and I used the hashtag, I used the bold type and script for free, and the symbol for at and last, and the question mark at the end, simply because it is a question. Are we free at last? Are we really free at last? And do we believe it? And do we operate as so? And a lot of what's transpired in the last couple of years has us still questioning, the issue with Breonna Taylor, the issue with, George Floyd. Even though these things are beginning to get the attention of the courts and, some decisions and movement, we as citizens know that this stuff is wrong. Not only is it wrong racially, but then we also have things that are wrong socioeconomically. We still haven't really talked about Flint. We still haven't really talked about how we are still finding a way to mistreat, Native Americans, people who have been here and who were on this continent before many and any, and yet and still we still find ways to tamper with, finagle, and all that. So beyond the coming of Black Lives Matter and all that, I still was I was heated, and I still am heated about how we play this game with Martin Luther King. And so one of the pieces that I had put in Righting the Wrongs was simply about that was about martyring Martin. And I did martyring Martin a while ago, and I found that to be a like a cornerstone for where I had been in dealing with this. And I found that the poem Martyring Martin really spoke to, okay, we've done all this to, not just make him into a martyr, but we've also marginalized him, and I found that was painful as a poet, as a young Black man, as a Morehouse man. That was painful. That's painful to see that we're still martyring Martin into all these different things. But I want to share this one with you, which is, losing our grip on the legacy. And I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It's it's an older piece, but it really gets to what I'm talking about when I talk about criticism of how we allow or sit back and watch and observe others almost take out what Martin Luther King was. Losing grip of the legacy in real honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Somewhere, someplace, some men were gathered together in some secret boardroom, sipping soy lattes or other caffeinated drinks, brewing over one of the most diabolical schemes of our very own age and time, and for the ages to come. They plan on making a more marketable Martin. They plan on making a more appealing Martin. They plan on making a more consumer-friendly Martin. They want to do away with Martin, who organized the Poor People's March. They want to do away with the Martin who wrote the Why Can't We Wait books. They want to do away with the Martin who spoke for nonviolence, but who spoke against injustice. These men will take the March on Washington and make it become more appealing to Madison Avenue. These men will take a speech like I Have a Dream and make commercials for the NRA, the Christian right, and whoever else can pay for pricey Super Bowl ads. These men will take the Birmingham bus boycott and use it for curriculum for peaceful demonstrations to cut down Occupy, Push, and other coalitions for change. These men will use Martin's words. These men will use Martin's image. These men will use Martin's likeness. These men will use Martin's reputation. And these men will use Martin's legacy. These men will use Martin. They'll do it to make monuments. They'll do it to make statues. They'll do it to make commercial ads. They'll do it to make made-for-TV dramas. They'll do it to make independent films on multiculturalism. They'll do it to make money. This will be a new age Martin. He will be a Martin of YouTube. He will be a retweeted Martin. He'll be a pinned and posted Martin. He'll be airbrushed images of Grace and that Will Grace profile pics. He will be editorialized in his words that will become status updates and memes on patriotic holidays. He will be something new and improved, and he'll be something worthy of every advertising dollar invested in him. Yet, he will be nothing like the minister who led direct action in the South. He will be nothing like the man who sacrificed family and congregation to make a difference. He will be nothing like the martyr who died by an assassin's bullet. He will be an entirely different Martin. We will only know him as MLK. Few will recognize him becoming Martin Luther King. We only will do service projects in his memory. We will only volunteer in his memory. We will only plant trees in his memory, but we won't change a damn thing in his memory. We will swallow it down as they shove it down our throats. We will take it in as they squeeze life out of segments of his life, somewhere between reruns of Amos and Andy or after news footage of an unbiased jury finding another person judged by the color of their skin and not by the content of their character, with more film to come at 11. It sickens me. It saddens me. But I'm only left with one question. Who will be next? And so I put that out there as losing our grip on the legacy, because that's what I feel, and that's what we see. How many times on MLK Day do we see people put up memes of MLK and some quote, and courage and all this other stuff that's, inspiring, but it minimizes the man and the legacy, and so that's part of where I came from with losing our grip on the legacy, and so that's part of the book and the section that's known as Righting the Wrongs. And I called it Righting the Wrongs, like I said, because I felt that from everything that I was seeing, everything that I was witnessing and observing, I go back to expressing ourselves and our expression being one of the main avenues of not just a call for help, but a call for community, right? And so in self-defense, they tell you, if you find yourself attacked, one of your best assets is to scream out loud, scream for help, scream. I'm being attacked. I'm being taken advantage of, and so in even the idea of personal self-defense, the idea of expressing yourself out loud, to be vocal, is still seen as the best asset you have to be heard and helped. And so that's why I said, righting the wrongs, because there's no way I foresee us righting them, as in fixing them, if the artists do not write about them, do not sing about them, do not put forth an effort. For those that are familiar with the recent film regarding Billie Holiday and the whole idea of her singing Strange Fruit, the idea that we can't express it through art and that we should be limited as artists, that we can't express what we feel, what we see, what we observe, what we deal with, is so limiting and ridiculous that, I think Martin Luther King has been victimized by commercialism. He has been victimized by the can't we just get along mentality, as opposed to what's really wrong between us. We don't solve issues by saying, okay, let's just bury the hatchet, because somebody might have written a map to go back and find the hatchet. Let's destroy the hatchet. Let's break that thing up and shatter it into pieces so that no one goes back and picks it up and fights with it again. And so that's where I came from with the MLK piece and righting the wrongs. And Free at Last, like I said, was primarily wordplay. And I say that as a poet, artist, right? Because when we talk about wordplay, go back to concept albums, things of that nature. When you look at George Clinton and his work with Parliament and Funkadelic, and I ain't gonna lie, one of my favorites is Dr. Funkenstein, The Children's of Production, and all these, that whole idea of this concept album, Aqua Boogie, right? Motor Booty Affair, and all these different things where it's a concept album, the Mothership Connection. and you put this concept out there, and then all the things that fall up under it, you lay them out. And I think, if anything, that had been a major influence on how I put together Free at Last. And I say it, and I continue to leave it out there as a question, because I think it's a question not just for the individual, but also for communities, for leaders. We have a new age of leaders. I love, say what you want to. I love AOC, but I think that, just like anybody else who's in that leadership position, she has to look and see, is she answering in her part the question of, am I giving the people an answer to, are they free at last? Am I giving people an answer to that? And so I think that's great. I think it's great, new leadership, but I also think we need to, continue to answer those burning questions. Are we free at last? Go along with that. This was a challenge for me as a businessman too. And I say this before I get into this poem, The Critics Win, which is in the collection Free at Last. I previously published my book, Righting the Wrongs, on another online platform in 2014, January 2014. And I was comfortable with it and fine with it. The poems from Free at Last are a collection of poems scattered throughout the internet. Most, folks know, when you post on Moontown and other places like that, other communities, writing communities, and share among poets. I have other poems out there. I may never, grab or pull back, but I just felt that these poems were essential to the concept that I was doing at that time with Free at Last. And I think that my issue as a businessman was when the primary platform that I had decided to use, a lot of you know, I previously used Lulu, and I still use Lulu for my print on demand books and most of my print books and ebooks. But I had decided to go a little different after writing Words from the Underground. Words from the Underground was a concept poetry book that dealt with a street prophet and the idea of mental illness, and mental illness along with the idea of insight and ideation and inspiration, and how could all of what this man be spewing and saying be crazy when he's somehow survived. And so after doing that book, still on Lulu, I went a different route, and I took to doing what the Relaunch is an online ebook exclusive, right? I just did it exclusively in the ebook format, and that's what I did with Righting the Wrongs. And I picked the platform, dealt with the platform, and then somehow, as I mentioned, folks weren't they weren't as woke as they are now. Somehow, even though it's self-published, it began to feel as though it was trying to be edited. It was getting messages about, content, getting messages about and questions about what people were able to download or not. And I felt that it's difficult to it's difficult to compromise your art, and it's difficult to compromise to your own voice. I see now where the new age of hip hop is the independent artists, the YouTube artists, the SoundCloud artists, and I think that's one of the strongest things we can have is artists that retain their rights, retain their control. And so, as a businessman, I had to make a decision to, fight the platform that I had chosen. And so, I remember at one point another artist saying, just let them have it. Just let them have control of it. You'll make more money if they have control over it. And I don't believe that it's just about the money. I believe that it is about the product. And just so y'all know, it's so what? No matter what platform I point to, we are actually not about the money because as artists, we only get X percentage, right? And we can go on to it for days about the broke blues man that wrote a hit, but doesn't have anything to show for it. The hip hop artist that looked like he had all that jewelry, but he doesn't have anything to show for it because he's had to go on the road for years in order to make up for what that initial contract was before he got, production rights and things of that nature. Come on, man. As a businessman, I just couldn't just deal with that. And so I fought the platform, pulled my stuff, and retained it. As anyone who should know, and now here it is. It's available on PayHip, and you can download the double volume, the Relaunch, and get a hold of that. Jump on with me. I appreciate y'all. Any love that you can get, if you buy a copy and whatever, I appreciate it. I truly do. But as a businessman, I go back to the example of Curtis Mayfield and him retaining rights for his work and opening his own publishing house along with studio. I think that's part of where the growth is. When I first published the books, I was under LifePath Publications, but as I grew, now I have them under LifePath Multimedia, which includes a full array of different things that I do with not only artistry but also ministry. And so God bless for the faith. And I'll confess right now, I wasn't always a shining example of a Christian when I dealt with the other folks in business. I had to pray, and I also had to repent about some things I said, some things that I did, but I also had to be honest that I did not feel like I felt like I was at war. And a very devious war, and I felt that was I was contending for something which was my own, as if I had to prove that it was my own, and I'll leave it at that. But that was the type of heat and battle that we were engaged in. And so let me give you this other piece from Free at Last, which is really something that, when you're writing, and you're writing, when you're writing for publication, for editors and other folks like that, which I still do contracted writing and stuff like that. There's always this looming piece of rejection, and then if you get past the rejection process, then you have to deal with criticism. And I love what Will.i.am said one time when he was interviewed on 60 Minutes, he says, critics do what critics do. And them being critical is it. That's how they're known, and that's how they make it, because they're being critical. Even if it's petty, even if it's minutia, it's still them being who they are. And so this is the Critics Win, one of the poems that is under the Free at Last title for the relaunch. And let me just go ahead with that. The Critics Win. If I had it, I'm through. I've had it. I'm through. I'm completely done. They've done it. You know who. The critics have won. I vow on this day I will no longer dream. I vow on this day I'll give in to their scheme. I'm done. I'm out. I've lost my ability to fight. They've won, no doubt, but it just don't seem right. That's how it is, man. You know, you fight. You fight to be accepted, and part of the acceptance is they tear you apart. You know, they literally tear you apart, and it's really it's not okay. You know what I mean? And I say that because as we go through this, the whole idea of anything you write, any song you write, any poem you write, as a writer, as an author, as an artist, that's a piece of you, and you feel vulnerable letting that out there. And then for someone to tear it to shreds, you are like, oh my God, what in the world is going on? And so I found that for me, the critics win is it's realistic, man. It's realistic for what we deal with in a lot of cases when we're dealing with the reality of making it. And I think that we put a lot of emphasis on making it and what making it means, what success means, and there's a lot of hoopla behind that. And catch this, Lin-Manuel Miranda and Hamilton, you know, that wasn't always on Broadway. Do we forget that? That didn't get most popular on Broadway. It got popular off Broadway. You know, it was something that a lot of people wouldn't accept. It was something that a lot of people said, what the heck? And yet and still, when we look at that, the explosion of that and the explosion of his fame from behind that, you also have to look at, well, what other stuff was he doing before that people just neglected and overlooked? And so I tell you, man, it's the price we pay to make it isn't always worth it. And I'll be honest about that, because I find that so many of us as people are willing to, you know, just take a lot of hits, take a lot of punches, just to say, hey, look, you know, somebody liked my work. Somebody gave me a raving review. And that's what that is. That's the critics win. And I say that that is an expressive piece as a writer, as an artist, as someone who, you know, so what, you didn't like it, you know? Oh well. So I'll jump from that to also saying, in writing the wrongs and Free at Last, I did it. I'm a lover of history, and so I didn't just do the the history of MLK and leave it at that. And those big names, the Black History Month names, right? I didn't just do that. And so part of what I was trying to do with this work was also shed some light on, like I said, some of the things that are wrong and were wrong and have been wrong historically as well as presently. And so I'll take you, full board to what would be one of the opening pieces in which would be one of the opening pieces in Righting the Wrongs, which is a Sympathy Serenade. Right? Sympathy Serenade says, I believe it was an evergreen, stern and tall. I believe he was 19, not that old at all. He hung lifeless from an evergreen. Stern and tall, he was lynched at just 19 for no real reason at all. And if I can just say it like this, I think we're not asking people to explain themselves or their ancestors, but I'm also saying we're not asking people to act. We're also asking people not to act like it didn't happen and act like it never existed. To say we're not. What I'm saying is when we talk about lynching, when we talk about the mutilation of other human beings out of hatred. And I still have difficulty looking at those Jet magazine pictures of Emmett Till and what someone did to this teenager's body. And I still have difficulty listening to Strange Fruit with Billie Holiday singing this beautiful melody about this tragic occurrence. There's no way to normalize that and say that that's acceptable. And what I say with this piece is there's no real reason at all for us to go back in society and look at it. There's no real reason at all to say that someone is it's just racism, man. It's just that's what it is, man. It's hatred. And if we go back to Ida B. Wells and the Red Record, and a black man was lynched today, you know what I mean? That banner would still be hanging out of windows from place to place if we really honored and respected that. That's part of the journey. That's part of the struggle. And I say as a black man, that's part of my personal struggle to say that, man, how safe do you feel to not be harassed by the police? How safe do you feel to no longer be considered a threat? And so, I say these pieces, are historical, but then I also do a couple of pieces that are in the vernaculars, right? People of Black literature understand when I say the vernacular, in the essence of one that would be like Just Be Simple's, that Langston Hughes popularized and ideas of that. And so when I look at pieces like Down Huntsville's Way and things like that, that's what that is. And so I'll just run this down for you real quick. This is This is down, Huntsville Way, and it is it's a little something, because I'm I'm quick to admit it. I'm part country. My people are. I got some people from Bama. You know what I'm saying? I'm part country, and so we all like the Huxtables. And I'll say that in a real sense because we just got that idea of family and the way things go and how things are. And so Down Huntsville Way is written in the vernacular, and so this is how it goes. It says, "Someone sure enough never could say that they don't know how to play way down there Huntsville Way. My main man Mickey and them Deckers, everything from dominoes to checkers, spades and tonk, and even 21, them dudes sure enough be having them some fun. Shooting stick, breaking racks, taking swigs and sips and making them stacks. Some sure enough never could say that they don't know how to play way down there, Huntsville's Way." Now, that's just, like I said, in the vernacular, right? Some people say Ebonics, if that's still something people still try to use. But for most of us that have, studied any particular Black literature and poetry, it tends to be called the vernacular. In the vernacular of tongue in speech, tongue in cheek, that Black folks have utilized for years, and to go along with that, there are some pieces that are tongue in cheek. I'm only gonna do that one was extra. I wasn't even planning on doing that one. I'm only gonna do two more. The one that I really feel says a lot is the interview. And the interview is it's really a counterattack on what is revolutionary. And it's a counterattack on do we need more spooks who sat by the door, and do we need more people to infiltrate, and be within the system, or do we need more people to break out and fight the system? And so the interview is, as I was saying earlier, it's tongue in cheek. It is also hopefully thought provoking, in the sense where people can get a look and say, "Hey, you know what? there might be some realism in that." And so this is simply titled "The Interview." It is part of the Righting the Wrongs section of the relaunch, and here goes, the interview. "So why do you want this job? Technically, I really don't want this job. But as a counterintelligence revolutionary, I need to get up in here and see the operations from the inside out. Tell me something about your background that may help me understand who you are. Africa, the dark continent, like Herodotus taught it, the same and very same place where the Greeks got educated, that's enough black ground to understand who I am. Well, give me a time where you put your leadership skills to use. This could be paid or volunteer experience." That's an easy one. On the way here, Malik pulled up front and Little D was sitting up front, and I made them pull around back Then I walked around the corner dressed in a blue suit and ready for business. How would your best friend describe you? You don't want to know. We did some serious hand-to-hand combat training together, so he knows how I throw a man twice my size down, or how I can read Donald Goines and James Baldwin and still find the revolutionary undertones in both. Name the last book that you read. Tell me what it did for you. Actually, there are two. Soul on Ice by Eldridge Cleaver. It pissed me off enough to come here and handle my business. The Art of War by Sun Tzu. If it's good enough for y'all, I figured I can use it too. Thanks for being open and honest. Please don't call us. We certainly will not call you. And that's just, like I said, tongue in cheek. The dynamics of, if you've ever been on a job interview, the dynamics of the job interview and how that can play out, and the line of questioning. And so I just went after that. And after doing so many interviews, you get tired of it and pulled in. And so any other things that y'all want to throw at me, feel free. I'm definitely open to it in the chat and the comments. But I'm gonna wrap this up with another piece that comes out of my first part, which goes back to Free at Last. And so Free at Last, I actually did this piece that is called help me today. I'll do these last two since we don't look like we're getting any questions. I'll do these last two that go actually in sequence in the Free at Last collection. And then God bless, thank you for paying attention. Thank you for joining me. This is where the book is available, right? It's an ebook exclusive. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. I'll do these two pieces. If you don't have any questions or anything, thank you for spending your time with me today. Much love out to you all. This first one is going to be putting on a good face. And somebody, if you don't know, then your mama or your big mama probably know. A lot of times we're out in this space, we're out in these places, and we've been taught to put on a good face. Paul Laurence Dunbar wrote it, "We wear the mask that grins and lies." And so it really gets into how we project ourselves as people of color. A lot of people deal with it now. They talk about code switching and things of that nature, but putting on a good face is the next to the last piece that I'll do. And here it is. Putting on a good face. Somewhere buried deep in the back of my mind, I hope and pray they will never find the thoughts and prayers of my hope-filled mind and all the limitless ideas that I left behind. Each and every single day, I urge myself to hope and pray that when it comes to that fatal day, they will simply leave me at rest to lay. But few find comfort to rest in peace, for their searching of our souls shall never cease, and What they discovered piece by piece was never really even living at peace. We wore the mask that grinned and lied. We wore the mask with big smiles to hide the truth overlooked, but that overtook our side. We put on a good face upon which we relied. It opened doors. It made a way. It opened doors in more than one way. Despite all of what they might say, the game was played in a perfect way. Don't be fooled by what you see. They ran a game that never fooled me, but I played my part to the epitome, and they'll never realize till they bury me. And that's about putting on a good face. And, ode to the poets that have come before me and launched and still sit on that ancestral, overriding throne, overlooking everything and saying, does it pass muster? Ode to you to that I even put the idea of we wear the mask in there, but influence and inspiration has been what many of those brothers and sisters have provided to us as poets and artists, and so God bless them. This final one is called The Explanation. The Explanation. And the explanation is really it's really just a modern thing that we have when we deal with these troubles with modern romance and how we discuss it, how we handle it, how we deal with it, and each other's emotions and the things we do and say and how that plays out. And so I'll finish with this, and then I'll give you some final remarks on everything. The explanation, as plain as possible. I want you to know, and I mean this with all sincerity, the problem is not you. The problem is really me. Now that we've got that clear, let me say something else. I don't mean no harm, but I'm seeing someone else. When I said, let's take a break, and I said, try to see other folk, I really meant that was not even a joke. No, you said there was no need. I satisfied your every need, but I must confess, you ain't all that I need. I need more than spooning as an aftermath of bad sex. I need to love some pointers behind, and I need to say that ain't the type of ex. My new boo probably won't be my last, but what is true is that you're my recent past. Gone are my expressions of comfort, joy, and lust. I see the future as glimmering gold and my past beginning to rust. So don't take it the wrong way. I know you had bad and big expectations. Please accept my explanation without any complications. Don't call, don't write, don't text, no inboxing. If you dare try to reach out, I'll unfriend you and be blocking. I have caller ID, and your ringtone is a gong. Keep off my timeline, and don't you post nothing wrong. I will leave you one thing, and I will leave you with this. Your next one comes after the best one. This is all of what you'll miss. You're going to see one day. You're going to thank me. You're going to be lost, but you will thank me. Just for loving you. Just for being a person of class. Just for being me and putting up with your trifling ass. You will regret every apology never spoken. You will live to regret every single promise broken. So take it to heart. Just take it seriously. Baby, the problem isn't you. Yeah, I know. It's how you've been mistreating me. And that is the explanation. And so I want y'all to know this is, like I said, the confession of, you know, my journey, my journey um to get my book back, right? As an artist, you struggle, you know where you know where things are, you know how things are, and you struggle. And I want people to know um, this has been a fight, this has been a journey, but I am glad to have made it on the other side. I point out once again, man, Norman Vincent Peale. It's always too early to quit. Don't give up on yourself. Don't lose faith in your ability and what you deserve, how you deserve to be treated, how you deserve to be respected, even in being censored or blocked or trying to be contained. Just remain strong enough in your faith in yourself to keep moving on and don't quit. You know, I I see this as like I said, I'll be honest. I started on my project, The Rebirth, which is going to take a little less than a month to come out after this. Um, Long before I started trying to fix this up, and something in me, something God put on me, would not allow me to do the rebirth before I did the relaunch. And so the relaunch is here. It's available. Check it out. It contains contact information. Get my email out of it. Hit me up. Tell me what you think. I did the cover art, which is one of the things I've been fooling with since this pandemic. Doing a little bit of graphic, and I always envision doing some symmetrical, asymmetrical cover, playing with the symmetry of it, and God, when the opportunity came, I just ran with it and envisioned it, and so God bless and be good to yourself. But this has been Coffee and Chat with Rev Bruce. Thank you for joining me a little later. We're going back to the 10 o'clock time as I begin to interview folks and get them as inspiring figures to help us on our journeys. And I really want to say, to be honest with you, I hope this worked out for you like it's worked out for me. I really wanted to finish this out as I finished this book and got it out there to really let somebody know, if you keep pushing, if you keep, working on it and working through your faith, God's gonna put you on the other side. If you don't believe in God, but you believe in reciprocity and you believe for every action there's an equal reaction, keep pushing and see how the world responds. Keep pushing and forcing your way into a space to be seen and heard and see how the world responds. I will repeat what I said earlier, and I'll say it and mean it. If we want the problems of our society, the problems of our community, any of this, our nation, to be addressed, those of us who observe it, who deal with it, who live it, who feel it, we have to express it. We have to say something about it. We have to speak on it and speak out about it in order for it to be addressed. We have to, as I said earlier, we have to express it to address it, you know. And if we don't, then we're in the wrong, and God help us. Amen.